All right, these are 5 ways that I've been using to get better at drawing from my imagination, because I used to do realistic drawing and I really didn't like that. I got bored of it and I wanted to make things from my own mind. My name is Ezra Lane. I'm trying to be a full-time artist and I'm currently living the fantasy of living in the garage and turning it into my dungeon. Full disclaimers, I did not ChatGPT any of these. These are actual practical ways that I have been using to get better at drawing. And the reason that I do this is because I'm a tattoo artist and I want to sell original art and I don't want to just copy other people's work anymore. These are in no particular order, but some of them do kind of contradict each other, or they're a little bit paradoxical. Let's just start with the most obvious one, and that is learning the basics. So I'd been drawing realistically for so long that I thought I was good at art, but then I tried to actually draw from my imagination and it just would never work out. I didn't know how to make figures, I didn't know how to draw faces properly, and this was because I didn't know how to construct anything. So I've been going through the arduous journey of learning anatomy and facial structure and proportions of the body and things, and I can safely say that it really does help. This goes from as little as line work of a face to knowing how to construct planes and see things in a more 3D perspective, so that you know where to put shadows, you know how colors are affected in different light sources. If you want to make things believable from your imagination, you need to know how to construct them in a believable way. That sounds obvious and it is simple, but it is not very easy and it does take a long time. The way I have been learning proportions and anatomy has been a little bit sporadic. I don't have any specific books I'm studying through. I'm just practicing most days. I'm not going to say every day. Although there was a time where I did a 100 days challenge of drawing. No, I tried to do a year-long challenge of drawing and I stopped it at like 137 days, I think. It's not necessarily about what you read or how you practice. It's just making sure that you get that practice in. The more you practice, the more you'll know what you need to practice, essentially. That leads me into my second point, and that is to make more art, make more completed pieces. And in order to make more completed pieces, you're probably going to need to work faster. One of the main problems I was facing with the realistic work I was doing is that shit takes forever. Genuinely, I'd spend a minimum of 3 months finishing one single artwork, and you just don't get enough exposure to other techniques and other methods and other ways of doing things, and you're looking at the same picture for so long that you're trying to draw that you don't get a chance to imagine anything else. You don't get a chance to be creative. Whereas if you're constantly creating new pieces a lot faster, say like a week, 2 weeks max for one piece, you go through a lot more material and you start to understand what you like and what you want to draw. And that is a really big step in trying to draw from your imagination, is actually knowing where you want to go with it. The way I practiced this was, like I said, I put myself up to a extended period of time drawing challenge, which I did not complete, but I did learn a lot from it. That was just me waking up every single day and the first thing I did was draw. And if there was a day where I missed a morning sketch, then I would really just try to squeeze it in before bed. It didn't have to be a long drawing session. The drawing didn't have to come out perfect. It didn't even have to come out good. The point was to put pencil to paper, to practice, and to get the reps in every single day. Number three. This one is kind of the paradoxical point to my first one, and that is stop worrying about things looking so good and being correct and being perfect. That little voice in your head that tells you that when you put down a line or you do a curve that's not exactly how you wanted it and you think to yourself, I can do that better, just stop listening to it. Just tell it, shut the fuck up. And just keep drawing. It doesn't need to be perfect. If it looks ugly, good. You probably learned more than what you did from trying to make something so perfect for 3 hours and it's still not great. If you put down a line and you think, I could do that better, good. Do it better in the next drawing. Let loose with it a little bit. Stop trying to put down the perfect marks and just sketch. That literally looks like loosening up your hand, maybe sitting a little bit further away from your sketchbook, having a comfortable posture, and just putting marks down. It's not necessarily to make your next great artwork. It's just to get your hand moving and drawing what it wants to draw, because your hand has muscle memory as well. And a lot of the time when you just draw without a direction, it turns into something a lot easier than trying to think of something and then going in to draw it. Number 4, copying is not cheating. This is also a bit paradoxical to the whole point I made about how I don't like to draw realistic anymore and I don't like to copy pictures. But just because you're copying something doesn't mean it needs to be one for one. And just because you're copying something doesn't mean you can't come up with your own ideas. It is super beneficial to copy pictures from greater artists than yourself, or from pictures with really good composition in them. You don't need to make an exact copy. You don't need to use the same colors. Sometimes you don't even need to use the same poses or exact facial structures, whatever you're copying. You basically want to use the best parts of your reference and replicate that in your own work, but put your own flair on it, put your own style. All the times where you look at a reference and you think, wow, I wish I could have this, or I wish I could do like this differently. Do that. The more you do this and practice getting the better parts of other artworks into your own work, the easier it is to imagine something with a better composition or better lighting. The way I practice this now is to go and look for a reference on Pinterest or find an Instagram post that I like and try and recreate what someone else has done, just a little bit more in my own style, in my own flair, but still trying to tap into why I like the piece in the first place. Last but not least, tip number 5 is to have a reference that is away from your drawing or your project you're working on. As you can see by my desk setup now, my drawing stuff is over here, but my screen that I use to look at the references is the one behind me. That means when I'm drawing at my desk, I have to turn and look at my references, which means I have to stop drawing, absorb the reference, and then turn back and try and create what I just saw from my memory and my imagination. This is something that I do in almost all of my artworks now. It's just have my references open but somewhere else, so I can't look at my drawing and the reference so quickly where I can just kind of copy the reference one for one. If I have it too close to my drawing, I find myself doing that even if I'm not trying to or not wanting to. And with this way, keeping the references away from your screen, you get a lot more opportunity to start drawing and then lock into a little section of a drawing instead of trying to put one line down, look at your reference, one line down, look at your reference. This is basically like practicing mini flow states. Let's do it. Number 6 bonus tip is practice with different mediums. If you're a painter, pick up a pencil. If you're using pencil, pick up a digital medium or pick up a spray can, pick up paint markers. Just do something different than what you are doing already. This will force you to render things in a different way, use different colors, and just do things in a way that you're not used to with your primary medium. Because the way you render things is also a version of imagination. It's not just about knowing what to draw, but how to create it. I personally found that my creativity and imagination exploded when I moved from pencil and black and gray to acrylic painting and spray paint and color. It just unlocked a whole new world for me, and it's definitely not just a coincidence that happened. I do think this is a valid way of pushing your skills and learning more, because the same thing happened when I went from traditional painting to digital painting, and then when I went from digital painting back to using a pencil. Anyways, I'm gonna cut it off there. If you like any of the work that you've seen or any of the work that I've done previously, you can join my newsletter in the description where you'll get updates on print drops and merch. And if you're watching from Cape Town, maybe hit me up to get some new tattoos. Like, subscribe, goodbye.